Hello and welcome to DFS Coach Talk. It is Wednesday, December 9th, 2020. I am Andrew Hansen alongside Shane Caldwell, and it's time for the Week 14 Thursday Night Football preview. And Shane, it's a rematch of the Super Bowl from 2 years ago when the Patriots beat the Rams 13-3. Major defensive battle. Are you expecting something similar here tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean, you got Belichick, the defensive genius, versus baby Belichick and Sean McVay, supposed to be the offensive genius. So let's see how it goes. Obviously, the Rams have a little bit of chip on their shoulder after getting whooped, and I think they're the only team in Super Bowl history not to score a touchdown in that game. So it was kind of a pathetic performance. Belichick really had their number that day, and they really caused a lot of issues for Jared Goff. So this is looking like a grinded out type game. If you like high flying, passing games and shootout type games, those Kansas City Chief type games, this isn't the game for you.
That's right. Yeah. But we are going to break it down on DraftKings and FanDuel to get you ready for your showdown lineups. And we want to start with the numbers from Vegas, courtesy of our presenting sponsor, BetUS.com.pa. We have a terrific partnership with them, and you'll hear about an unbelievable offer here midway through the show. But their numbers, Shane, are the Rams favored by 5 at home, over under 45.5. So a long way from that 16 in the Super Bowl. And we've got both teams coming in on a bit of a hot streak here. The Rams have won 3 out of 4. Patriots have won 4 out of 5 to get to 6-6. So both teams really battling for playoffs. I mean, this is going to be an intense game. So let's start on the Patriots side. They are going up against a terrific defense. All right. In terms of the numbers, LA is number 2 overall in yardage, 3rd in yardage allowed on the ground, and number 1 in yardage allowed through the air. So how are the Patriots going to move the ball against the Rams?
Yeah, so I mean, this game is, I like Cam Newton because I'm attacking the running game against the Rams. If you're going to attack the run defense for the, if you're going to attack the defense of the Rams, it's through the running game. Especially lately, teams have been able to attack them. So, because you definitely don't want to pass on them with the pressure and the coverage combination they have there. So I like Cam Newton because even though he's been inconsistent as a quarterback, I look at him as basically a big running back who occasionally throws the ball, which is good as well. So so that's why I'm invested in the running games on both sides. I'm heavily invested. I'm going to be overweight on the running games here. So I'm not trying to stack Cam Newton with anyone. I know he's got a couple good receivers. I'm sure you can hit on those. He's got some guys that could pop here, but when I look at the matchups and the coverage, I don't like the matchups. Just to kind of give you an idea, I mean, you're going to have Darius Williams probably going up mostly against Amir Byrd, his wide receivers. Darius Williams is one of the most underrated corners in the league right now. He's a shutdown type corner. He's the best probably cornerback in the league that no one knows who he is because he plays with the other superstar that everyone knows, Jalen Ramsey, who will mostly be on N'Keal Harry, on the outside. N'Keal Harry hasn't been productive, and facing Jalen Ramsey, he's going to shut him down. And then Jacoby Myers has been great in the slot for New England. He's been up and down recently, not as good though. And Troy Hill is another guy who's pretty good slot corner there. He's productive in the slot. So that's why I'm not looking to stack Cam Newton with the wide receivers. I just will take him based on his rushing upside. You're looking at a showdown slate. So you don't necessarily have to stack things. You have to look at what these teams are going to do. So I like Cam Newton here. And then of course you got to like Damian Harris. I know Sony Michel's back, but I don't really trust Sony Michel for a full workload with his injury histories. Damian Harris is your young guy. He's your workhorse. He should be able to handle a quick Sunday to Thursday transition there. We talked about at our pregame huddle how, New England didn't even have to travel. They just stayed in LA. They're playing at SoFi Stadium 2 weeks in a row. So that lends well for guys like Damian Harris to get a full workload. And they have a huge advantage here. New England has a 38% run blocking advantage according to Pro Football Focus. And with the DVO rating, New England is the 4th best DVOA run attack in the league, and they're 3rd in yards per carry. So they're elite level in terms of running the ball. And then you add in Cam Newton and Damian Harris, who's a talented running back. So I'm invested in that running game there. And that's really all I'm looking at besides on DraftKings playing the New England defense. and on both sites playing probably the New England kicker, Nick Folk. And this is probably one of the first slates, and we've done every single showdown slate, I believe, this year. This is probably one of the first slates where I made it a priority to write down the kickers' names in my notes here and make sure to write the kicker pricing. Typically, that's something I'll throw in at the last second with lineup construction. Oh, I need a cheap guy. I'll throw in a kicker. But I actually wrote down him as one of my top plays here. So that's how I feel about this game. I know it's kind of ugly, but again, you're looking for the guys that score the most points. If a kicker can get like 9 to 12 points here, that could be one of the top scoring guys in this game. Like, that's how I feel like this game could play out. We'll see how that goes. So that's where I'm at for the New England side here.
Yeah, it certainly could be a field goal fest. I think the kickers are in play. Both defenses are in play. Let me start with Cam Newton because you're high on him. I looked at the running quarterbacks against the Rams this year, and it's been a bit of a mixed bag again. Dak had 1 passing touchdown, no rushing touchdowns. Josh Allen really had the best game. He had 4 passing touchdowns and 1 rushing touchdown. But I think we can all agree that Josh Allen is a better passer right now than Cam Newton, and certainly better weapons. Then you look at Russell Wilson. He didn't have a single touchdown against the Rams. And Kyler Murray last week, 3 passing touchdowns, no rushing touchdowns, not a lot of yardage. So, it's a situation where I think he could excel. I think he could be the key. He could be the highest score on the slate because he doesn't pass for many touchdowns. You have to kind of hope that he runs 1 or 2 in like last week. So he's in play for me. With those other running backs, I really do like how Damian Harris has been running the ball. And I think he kind of looks like Drake, Kenyon Drake, who had some success against the Rams. And he's quick enough and strong enough to get into the end zone if he gets some carries inside the 10. He got 17 touches on Sunday. Sony Michel back in the mix with 11. So, it wouldn't surprise me on the short turnaround if it's pretty similar, pretty balanced. So Sony Michel could, snipe one of these touchdowns and end up being a better play because he's cheaper. So he's in play for me. James White, this isn't the best matchup I can see for him. It just kind of jumped out at me that he hasn't had a receiving touchdown all season. And that's something he's usually pretty good at. And so, I'd like to get him involved because I also think that, through the air, the way to attack the Rams is in the slot. That's where they've been most vulnerable. So I do like Jacoby Myers, and, James White can certainly get out there and run some routes from the outside. So he's also in play for me, but just not as good of a matchup as I'd like. And then, just rounding it out with these wide receivers, after Myers, I don't have much interest in these guys for the reasons you mentioned. But I did notice the craziest price on this slate for me, Damiere Byrd on DraftKings is $800. And on FanDuel, he's $10,000. So I think he's mispriced over there. And this is a guy who, in Week 11 against Houston, he had 29 DraftKings points. It's not very often you get a guy with 29 DraftKings points as a receiver who's 800, and he's still a starter, seeing tons of snaps. So I think he's worth a look, especially if you're playing multiple lineups. You got to get him in at least one lineup on DraftKings. And then the final thing I'll say is, on the Patriots side, going back to the Super Bowl, the way that the Patriots attacked the Rams was through the slot and with the tight end, and that's the best way to attack the Rams this year because they're only middle of the pack against tight ends. But the Patriots don't have Gronk anymore. They've got Ryan Izzo, who's a little bit banged up. So unfortunately, that's not a place where we can really turn. So it'll be Myers for me, and then possibly Cam Newton, possibly one of those other running backs, and then the kicker and the defense are in play for me as well.
Yeah, and then I just want to go back to Cam Newton real quick. When you were looking at the logs of, guys like Russell Wilson and Josh Allen, the difference is those guys are really good at passing the ball, and Cam Newton is, average to below average, right?
Right.
But here's the other difference, though. Cam Newton gets a lot more designed run plays where Josh Allen and Russell Wilson don't really want to have to run. They just can if they occasionally with the broken down play, but they don't typically get designed run plays. So Cam Newton will get a lot of design run plays. It's going to be a big part of the game plan and the scheme of the read option with him and Harris. It's kind of a two-man game there. So that's why I say when I want to invest in this, these are design run plays. They're not like fluky plays where he's trying to find someone and he breaks out. But that also could be why you're not seeing as much production from James White when he used to play with Tom Brady. Tom Brady's the expert at just climb in the pocket, checking down to the running back, putting them in good positions, where Cam Newton can just take off running if he finds a seam because he's fast and he's big and physical in the open field. So that's kind of the difference there, is that I'm seeing a trend where these the true running quarterbacks, like your Kyler Murrays and your Cam Newtons, they don't really have to check down to running backs as much because all the linebackers and corners are in coverage and their backs are turned to them. So they just take off running. You see that often. So that happens as well. It hurts the check down. But yeah, I just like the fact that design running plays. I mean, what other quarterback do you see that I think he has like 11 touchdowns this year. I mean, that's just absolutely crazy. So, and of course you get a lot. Yeah, on the ground. Exactly. So you get a ton more fantasy points for rushing touchdowns and rushing yards compared to passing yards and passing touchdowns, right? So that's what makes Cam Newton valuable, is the fact you get more fantasy points for those things, and the team wants to do those things by design. It's not just a fluke thing where he took off for a random 30-yard scramble. He can still scramble too. That's the nice thing. So that's why I focus on that in a game that's a really tough matchup. You got a quarterback who's not that good at passing against, probably the best team at shutting down passing games right now. So it's a real mismatch there. But I think, again, great offensive line, great scheme in the running game. So that's what you're going to see, is a heavy dose of running here. It's almost like it was an outdoor winter blizzard game, even though it's played in freaking LA in beautiful weather, right?
Yeah, it could be.
I mean, that's how they're going to play, as if they couldn't pass because they can't.
I agree. Yeah, I think there are going to be a lot of design runs for Cam. So great points there. Before we get to the Rams, check out this tremendous offer from our partners at BetUS.
Listen up, sports bettors. It's go time, so put down the beer and make every sporting event more exciting by putting stakes on the line. Earn bragging rights over friends as you rake in the cash from each week's betting action, but don't settle for any other book. Choose America's favorite sportsbook with over 25 trusted years in the industry. You need a sportsbook with integrity and longevity, and most importantly, a sportsbook that pays. BetUS has your game with action on football, baseball, and basketball, MMA, golf, horses, and even esports. No other sportsbook welcomes newcomers like BetUS with their jaw-dropping sign-up bonuses. Now we have the best book in the industry teamed up with the best DFS provider in the industry. Make your first deposit of $149 at betus.com.pa with promo code CoachTalk and receive a free membership with DFS Coach Talk with full access to our DFS lineups in NBA, NFL, PGA, and MLB, the best in the biz. Sign up today to make straight bets, future bets, prop bets, entertainment bets, live bets, and more. No other sportsbook in the industry is committed to their users like BetUS. So sign up now and get on the winning side of the ball.
Welcome back, and thank you again to BetUS for that tremendous offer for our listeners. Make sure to use that promo code CoachTalk, all one word, and you'll be members with us all the way till April 1st. We're going to have a big winter in NFL all the way through the Super Bowl, and NBA starting this Friday. We'll be ready for preseason. We give out full lineups for the preseason as well. Absolutely ready to crush it. So we'd love to have you join us. Now, Shane, on the Rams side here, again, in the Super Bowl, I went back and watched the post-game interview from Belichick, and he, in a rare moment of disclosure, he summarized their defensive game plan that day when they were able to hold the Rams without a touchdown. And he said that they doubled Woods and they left Gilmore on Cooks. And the thing that you realized as well is Cooper Kupp didn't play that game. So what do you think about, the game plan from Belichick with Woods and how the Rams are going to try to attack the Patriots?
Yeah, so I would, I think Belichick disclosed that because he knew it was going to be 2 years before they played him again, right? So he looked at the schedule in 2020, So right. So I would look at it like Cooks is now Woods, where you can just put Gilmore on him, one-on-one. So if I'm New England, I'm going to just try to stop Cooper Kupp in the middle. So I'm going to have more like safety help in the middle to try to stop Cooper Kupp because he's a threat, and that's kind of the weakness. You can pass a little bit more in terms of the matchup in the slot there, So I would just leave Gilmore, who's your shutdown corner, on Robert Woods, and he can contain him on the outside and move around with him. And then Jonathan Jones is a good slot corner, but you can give him a little bit of help in the inside against Kupp. And then J.C. Jackson is the other guy who would be mostly on Josh Reynolds, as well. So I again, the New England's similar to the LA Rams. They just have really good cover corners, really good schemes, and they know how to shut players out. So yeah, Robert Woods is the hottest one right now among the wide receivers, but Cooper Kupp's been great as well. But I think that Gilmore is good enough to match up against Robert Woods. I think he matches up pretty good against him. So I think they let him shadow him alone, and they try to focus on taking away the middle from Cooper Kupp, and they go with that. And then, of course, I think that the Rams, I don't think they're going to have to worry about that much because they know that New England can match up well against them. I think the Rams are going to be a heavy dose of the run game as well. So, again, it's going to be Belichick and baby Belichick with the same exact game plan, except for different schemes. The difference is New England is a read option, design, power, run inside game, where the Rams about over nearly 50% of their run scheme is an outside zone run scheme. They run all those misdirection kind of fake sweeps and try to get the linebackers going one way, and they bring them back on the outside with those outside zone run schemes. So I look for a heavy dose of Cam Akers. He's finally having his breakout that we expected, really, when they began the year. We thought he was going to be their bell cow role in that Todd Gurley role. Cam Akers, I expect a heavy dose from him, and I expect Henderson to be heavily involved in the running game and even hopefully the passing game here. And I think that's the game plan. That's how you beat this team. If you look at the statistics, thanks to Pro Football Focus, they looked at the zone running scheme, the outside zone specifically. The Rams gained 4.9 yards per carry in that scheme, which is solid. And it just so happens that New England has faced the outside zone running scheme a lot, and they gave up 5 yards per attempt from the outside zone running scheme. So that means the Rams are going to attack that. They know that. Even though New England knows they're going to attack that, I don't think they can stop it. So my point is, I'll take the Rams here. The Rams run offense, by the way, DVOA, number 1 in the league, and 9th in yards per carry, and 22% run blocking advantage with this matchup. So if you see that they're really good at taking away the ball in the passing game, they have historically shut down Jared Goff and made him look horrible. I mean, his passer rating, his Pro Football Focus grade has been the worst in this type of scheme. So I look for Jared Goff to have a bad game. So I'm fading Jared Goff here. Yeah, he has a lot of talented receivers and a great scheme, but I look for them a heavy dose of run in the outside zone scheme. And it doesn't hurt that New England is the 23rd ranked run grade defense by Pro Football Focus. And also, their run D is 28 DVOA. So if you just look at all those statistics and what you've seen from it and how these teams want to play in terms of taking the ball out of Jared Goff's hands, limiting turnovers, and trying to control the clock here, I think that's how it's going to be. So both teams have a similar game plan, just different types of schemes. So that's why, again, in fantasy, I would attack the running games here heavily, and probably more than any other game that I've ever attacked here. So then I also like, of course, the Rams defense. The Rams kicker, we got to see which guy plays. Matt Gay might be out with an injury, so you can then take their practice squad guy. And then Higbee, I think, could get some passes just because the wide receivers are so sticky in coverage and so focused on trying to shut down Woods and Kupp, that Higbee could get some work in the passing game here and have a couple big plays and maybe get some red zone targets too. So that's why I kind of like Higbee as a value guy here. Other than that, it's the same thing. Based on what I think these teams are going to do, I'm heavily invested in the running game here.
Yeah, I have a similar perspective on this for the Rams. I think they are going to want to run it, and I prefer Akers in general over Henderson. I think he's a better running back, so I would prefer to play him. The problem is he had 21 carries on Sunday. Henderson only had 3. So I think it'll be more balanced here. I think, either one of them could be successful, but I'm not as excited about Akers as I would be on a normal week at this point in the season. For example, their next game after he's gotten 10 days of rest, I'd probably be more interested in him. With the pass catchers, I want to start with these tight ends because it's actually the worst matchup in the league in terms of fantasy points allowed. Patriots have only given up 1 touchdown to tight ends, but it's such a fascinating matchup because the Rams pair of tight ends is a little bit different than most. It's almost like the Eagles, where they feature them and they target them heavily and in different spots. So I still think one of them could pay off. I like how Everett's a little bit cheaper than Higbee, especially on DraftKings. But that'll be a fun one to watch. And then with the wide receivers, I mean, Kupp, to me, he does have the best matchup. I think they will try to limit him, but I think they'll do everything they can to keep the ball out of Woods' hands on the deeper throws. If they have to live with something, I think it's going to be the shorter pass to Kupp and hope that they can gang tackle him and limit the length of those plays. And the Rams are so good at getting the ball in the hands of both of those guys right around the line of scrimmage and behind the line of scrimmage. They'll get Woods going on that jet sweep. They'll get him the ball. So I think, again, on DraftKings, they're both still in play because, you rack up 6 or 7 catches pretty easily, and all of a sudden you're in a pretty good spot with PPR. All right, Shane. Well, that's going to do it for our overall breakdown here. Again, if you're new to the program, what we do with our members in terms of lineups is we give out a full FanDuel lineup. It's a cash lineup, a full GPP lineup, and then the core plays on DraftKings for a cash lineup and a GPP. That's how we do the Showdown lineups. And we've got some great positive vibes in our Discord right now. The last 2 Showdown games, we've had a member take down the GPP on FanDuel. So jump in with us and sharing some of the positive vibes.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting to have two nights in a row. I mean, it's pretty hard to take those down. I mean, you're talking contests that have like 200,000 lineups in there, and we had to take down 2 nights in a row. So that's definitely good vibes going there. So we're loving these showdown slates. As crazy as they are, we're loving them right now.
Yep, absolutely. So jump in with us, and so we can grow the family, celebrate together. And if you're not interested in the BetUS offer, you can become a member straight on our website, dfscoachtalk.com. Same price for the NBA All Access package all winter that gets you all of our sports, so NFL, PGA, and then MLB when it starts. Social media, DFS Coach Talk on Twitter if you have any questions. And you can find Shane at DET Sports Shane. I'm at Language Olympic. The coach is at JOESARVADI. If you could on YouTube, hit the like button, hit the subscribe, and get notified of our upcoming podcasts. We'll have another NBA show on Friday. That'll be our 3rd NBA preseason preview show where we break down 10 more teams from a DFS perspective to get everybody ready for the NBA preseason, which starts on Friday. So again, a great time to join us. We're going to crush the NBA. It's our best sport. It's our original sport, and we'll have you ready for every slate. So that's going to do it for today. On behalf of Shane Caldwell and the rest of the DFS Coach Talk team, I am Andrew Hansen. Thank you so much for joining us, and be sure to tune in next time as we look to crush it in DFS.